Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. And seeing how it is Halloween, I believe, tomorrow, yes, tomorrow, I thought I would give you something truly terrifying. Absolutely and utterly terrifying. And that is probably two things. One, I'm going to commentate on a self-propelled gun replay, which probably is going to be horrific. And secondly, this is truly terrifying. How many of you see these in your nightmares, at least when you're playing World of Tanks? These are the kind of things that tank nightmares are made of. This is the Tier 10 American self-propelled gun, the T-92. And our player today is going to be Punisher 80, also very fitting for Halloween when we think about it. Now, this is the biggest gun in the game. You'll quite often say that you'll quite often hear that I say that the FV215B183 has the biggest gun on any tank in the game. Yes, that's correct. Of course, this isn't a tank, this is a self-propelled gun. But this has the biggest gun on any vehicle in the game. A 240mm mammoth main armament that just absolutely obliterates pretty much anything that it lands on or even nearby. Now, Punisher is playing here on Mountain Pass, and he's really going to have a good role in here if he wants to win this. Look at this, most of the best players on the enemy team are all in their top tier tanks. This is truly going to be a tricky one. He has located up, as many players will do in their artillery, on top of the hill to be able to get nice clean shots in, but unfortunately a swing and a miss right at the start of this replay, and that's because the T-92 is probably also one of the most least accurate vehicles in the game as well, with 0.92 dispersion at 100 meters. Or shall we say pretty much 4 times less accurate than a Grilla, or 3 times worse accuracy than an E50M if you look at it in pure absolute values. He has noticed, however, that there's a sneaky E50M on the enemy team who's made his way into this bush, and the T-92 does have a killer reload rate. It fires 1.13 rounds a minute. So when you have full skills, he did hit that E50. He shaved off, was that 850 hit points off the E50 in the bush. We'll show you for camping bush, hey, right? That poor tier 9 German medium tank is not very well. So as I was saying, the T-92 fires 1.13 rounds a minute, pretty much making the reload on this tank, even if you're using things like Cola and you're also using some rather good cruise skills, you got vents and so on and so forth on your tank, you're pretty much still going to have about 50 seconds reload on this vehicle. Or maybe just under that, I'm not 100% sure. So now he's targeting the heavy tanks on the enemy team, which is generally what artillery try and do, right? Or unless, of course, you're playing, and then it doesn't matter what kind of a... Gotcha. Did he just really one-shot that M103? 1,495 damage done there. What is the penetration on these 240mm high explosive shells? It is 120mm of penetration. So, of course, with the M103 turning his turret to the side there, hitting flush in the side of the turret, one-shotting, well, pretty much one-shotting a Tier 9 American heavy tank is very much possible. For, as we mentioned, the biggest gun in the game. This 240mm platform, however, is definitely not very mobile. The top speed limit on this tank is 32 kilometers an hour, and it can go at 10 kilometers an hour backwards. And its power to weight ratio is 8.69. That is worse than many of the heaviest heavy tanks in the game. So just don't expect to be taking this thing very quickly into position or running away from your opponents. Now, Punisher is using, if you've never watched an artillery replay before, or you've never seen this modification, you might be wondering, how has he got this third-person mode view? Well, this add-on is called Battle Assistant. It's in my mod pack, and it allows you to have a different view of the battlefield. As he does 824 damage to the E100 Jagdpanzer on the enemy team, and also splashing over the Tier 10 German heavy tank, the E100, for 205, making the combined damage of that shell 1,029. Pretty brutal there. And already the enemy Jagdpanzer seems to be rather tilted, guys, as he calls our hero, Punisher, an artillery idiot. What do you guys think about now that we've had... it was this patch that we lost the all chat, right? What do you guys think about that now? For me, it's actually made the game a hell of a lot more, should we say, playable, because I'm just not having to deal with so much of the toxicity from the enemy team. I understand it, it's fine. But I would like to highlight that's targeted at me as a streamer, or as a content producer on YouTube. It's not really targeted at me because I do anything different in game, I guess. I digress. Punisher does a subsequent 886 damage to another E100. They're in a platoon together. He has now damaged both of them quite significantly, but he's going to have to do a hell of a lot more if he wants to take this one down. And that's because there are 4 tier 10 tanks and 1 tier 8 tank on the enemy team. And unfortunately, he only has 2 tier 8 tanks supporting him. And you know, generally, the T-32 and the Charioteer isn't going to do very well against the E100 on the enemy team, but we're going to have to see. So I was talking about the add-on that he's using here. It's Battle Assistant. It's included in my mod pack, and 1,162 damage. That is absolutely devastating. Now, combined with that tiny little splash from the predominant amount of damage that he did to the E100 Jagdpanzer, he has done 1,367 damage to that poor E100. So yeah, the add-on is called Battle Assistant, and in my mod pack, if you press your G key, it changes the angle that you can view the battlefield. Now, it doesn't make you any more accurate. What it does is it allows you to see a different view as to how your shell is going to fly at your opponent, and that can be very useful for diagnosing why you aren't going to be able to hit the enemy tank. Now, Punisher unfortunately is reduced to a single tank on his team apart from him, the T-32, and now he's aiming at the Jagdpanzer E100. He seems to want to shut him down, and the Batchat kills the T-32, leaving him alone against 4 tier 10 tanks and 1 tier 8 tank, quickly reducing it to 3 tier 10 tanks and 1 tier 8 tank. Punisher is contesting a Kolobanov's medal here in an artillery. You know what? I really wanted to get something special for this click or treat video, as I'm calling it. Sorry about that. Yeah, I know I'm probably going to hell for that one. That's a terrible pun. I'm sorry, guys. But I went and looked for a lot of Kolobanov's medals in artillery, because obviously trying to get a Kolobanov's medal where you have to stand alone against at least 5 opponents on the enemy team is very tricky when you have to spend pretty much the next 40 seconds reloading in some of the higher tier artillery, right? And most of them were either in rapid-fire artillery like the FV304 with high mobility, or they were in, for example, the Batchat 15558 with that autoloader. But they were all against pretty much 2 or 3 artillery on the enemy team, so they'd have to kill 2 tanks and 3 artillery, which is a hell of a lot easier than having to deal with 4 tanks, because in theory, as long as they all come at him at the same time, Punisher is completely doomed. Yeah, it looks like the enemy team haven't quite caught the idea of going at him all at the same time, and they're going for the 1 by 1 by 1 tactic. And Punisher shuts down the enemy tier 10 French medium tank, the Batchatillon 25T, in true epic fashion there. 1,017 damage done to the lightly armoured French medium tank. So the T-44 was looking in the bushes at the back there. That's quite often where artillery are going to hide, but not today. Punisher has been up on the hill the whole time. And let's see if who is currently the king of the hill is able to take this one down. Now, there's one person in the cap circle. He's obviously going to have a look at the T-44. Now, luckily, he's got 500 hit points in this high-tiered self-propelled gun, so he can actually take a hit from the T-44, as we clearly see. He auto-aims, loops one over the ridge, and he didn't even really fully aim that shot. But you know, you've got to take your chances in these kind of situations, shutting down the Tier 8 Soviet medium tank on the enemy team. And now he has to deal with a platoon of E-100s. Now those E-100s, they've no longer got the 100mm gun that the T-44 will have. They are packing 150mm of pure pain that is easily able to remove the remaining hit points of his vehicle. He slips his way down the slope. He's got to give himself enough time to reload. And as he slips his way down, the enemy E-100 must have figured out that it's time to turn round. The last thing that the E-100 would want to do is make his way up over the ridgeline to be able to have a go at him. He comes around the corner and... oh my gosh, Punisher shuts down the E-100 on the enemy team and proceeds to have now a 1 versus 1 engagement with the Tier 10 German heavy tank. How is he going to be able to get through this one? Bobek on the enemy team has got to get some revenge for his friend. Surely he can't let a T-92 kill tank after tank after tank pretty much on reload in this situation. Punisher is now on 6,200 damage that we've seen him do, but if we take into account the E-50M as well, he's got to be on about 7,000 damage here. 5 kills, he's going for a Top Gun, and more importantly, the Kolobanov's medal. It's the one that everyone wants, right? But pretty much hardly anyone gets, especially in your Tier 10 self-propelled guns. Punisher sets up an ambush waiting for the E-100. click or treat indeed. Looks like Lady Luck was indeed on Punisher's side here as he shuts down the final remaining tank on the enemy team and takes down this 1 versus 5. What an incredible achievement in a tier 10 self-propelled gun. So congratulations to Punisher for picking up the Kolobanov's medal here. Also the top gun, and unsurprisingly a high caliber for the 8,000 damage that he did here. 1,158 base experience points. That's a great result in a self-propelled gun. He still made 30,000 credits profit, even though he did fire a few premium rounds this game. Down in the description below, Punisher highlights that he got lucky when the enemy were too cocky and tried to destroy him one by one. And both of those things certainly have to happen at the same time to have a truly epic result such as this. Punisher 80, congratulations to you. Thank you so much for uploading this on What Replays. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and hopefully you guys did as well. If you did, please consider giving this video a like. It really helps the channel out. And also just a heads up that tomorrow on Halloween I'm going to be doing a bonus stream where I'm playing games that are not World of Tanks, probably some horror titles. Come along on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby, pretty much starting in the evening when it gets dark, for some good old spooky fun. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.